Welcome to That 80s Show. Dory, you can blame it on the Menendez brothers.
Wow. I really wanted to talk about that show this week, but I haven't finished watching it.
Dory.
So it's coming soon.
Blame it on Lal and Eric. They did blame it. They're still in jail.
Yeah.
Gen Zs are trying to get them out. What is going on?
Well, have you watched the show?
I have watched the show, but before we get into that, welcome to the show. This is That 80s Show. I am Paulo. That is Dory. Once a week, we try to go back to the 1980s. I am going to give a bit of a warning. We missed a show last week. We try to keep the show within an hour. Oh boy, I got so much to tell Dory about. I like to recap Dory on all the latest happenings from the 1980s and today, Dory.
Yes.
First, I want to tell you a story last week.
Yes.
We didn't do a show because I was speaking. Very important work thing I was speaking at. Mm-hmm. Oh, very, very important guy.
Yes.
TikTok were there.
Oh, okay.
Google were there.
Wow.
Meta were there.
Uh-huh.
And the important
And you
people.
were there.
And I was there.
Wow.
The important people for the region were there.
Uh-huh.
And little old me. And this whole MC thing. And when you get invited to talk up to the stage, they play some music. I wished it was Wham. But as I walked up on stage, Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, played as my intro song.
And that wasn't your doing?
No. And
Wow.
I made a chirp about it, but I looked at the people in the room and I was like, you're all literal children. Nobody gets my joke. It was hilarious. I say, well, if you knew, everyone wants to rule the world. And it's true, I do. And anyway, that moment passed. But if you get that joke, this is certainly the show for you. You are our people. This is That 80s Show. And yes, we got to blame it on the Menendez brothers. So what's it called? Monsters on Netflix?
Yeah, so it seems like it's an anthology series. And like the first edition was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
And now this is the second edition. And then there's one coming. A third one's coming at some point. So I'm about halfway through the series.
Like by now, everybody knows the Menendez brothers stories. There's like a bit of an upswell, like can they get released from jail? People feeling, you know what, they were sexually assaulted. They're also victims. It's victim blaming. It's like they shot their parents' heads off. Like they're not, you know what I mean? Like I get both sides of it. You still shot your parents' heads off. I watched, there's now a documentary also on Netflix on that.
I saw that.
That's way better.
Okay.
Remember the Menendez brothers, the dramatization, a lot of talking. One scene is a full scene, I believe was shot. It's a 30-minute scene and it was shot in 30 minutes.
Well, there's
something like that.
That's the episode I've just watched. Which the entire episode is one shot.
Yes.
It's more than 30 minutes.
Oh,
it's
no.
an entire episode.
Boring as shit.
Oh, no. I thought it was fantastic.
That's too intellectual for me. Too intellectual for me.
I thought it was incredible. I thought it was the most incredible episode. So it's the highest rated episode of the show.
You see, that totally lost on me. I battle to get past how hairless they are.
They are very hairless for Latino men.
Their mother was also.
Oh, actually, yeah.
I think from their documentary, their mother is also. I don't know.
She was blonde, but that doesn't mean anything.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Start off saying, blame it on the Menendez brothers. Obviously, a big thing about this series is that they play a lot of Milli Vanilli.
Yes.
Right? And we threw it in the last episode very quickly, but on Milli Vanilli, our very good friend, the celeb savant, interviewed Fab from Milli Vanilli. And then just also, Fab was here for a retro concert. Celeb savant went. He was the main guy. He got invited to go to the after party with him, right?
Not just Fab, like a bunch of these guys.
I don't think Fab was at the after party.
Actually, I don't think he was.
Real McCoy, Daisy D from Technotronic,
Venga Boys, wasn't it?
Venga Boys.
Venga Boys.
He was basically like on Monster Hits 93. If you had in 1993 come and said, I hung out with the Venga Boys and Technotronics, like, you're just lying. You're just lying. And that's what the celeb savant did. But anyway, he did a fantastic interview with Fab. We did throw forward to it, but go take a listen. Celeb Savant, it's kind of like, he does so many episodes. You probably have to go back 12 down to go find it.
But it's really worth it.
Fab Morvan, really worth it. And what's captivating is his real speaking voice. Just interesting man to listen to. But just yesterday, Dory, I want to read you a couple of articles. Firstly, from Forbes. I want to just read you the headlines. Milli Vanilli scores their first new top 40 hit in 35 years.
Because of Menendez?
Thanks to the Menendez brothers movie. Because that Netflix show,
Yeah.
I'm Gonna Miss You, is entered the UK charts for the first time since its original release.
Yo, when that played in the show, it was so awkward. That was the most awkward scene I've ever seen in my life.
Well, the question asks...
Did that really happen?
Okay, so we go to capitalfm.com.
Right.
So obviously at the funeral, the one brother, the older brother... Memorial gives a eulogy for his mother. And as he starts a slideshow of the family, nice photos and pictures and, photos are pictures. Blame it on... No, Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You. Plays over it. So people were asking, did that really happen during the slideshow? Now, an author, Robert Rand, who wrote the Menendez brothers biography, has said several Milli Vanilli songs were played at the funeral, including Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You. So whether it was played in that particular way, can't say. But they did play Milli Vanilli songs at the memorial of their parents. So it is based in some sort of truth.
Wow. I wonder how Fab feels about being linked to the story.
I know, Barrett. I wish he had asked him. Rolling Stones say Milli Vanilli are hotter than ever right now. What the hell is going on? Blame it on Ryan Murphy Monsters and the Menendez brothers. I'm so glad because they're back. Forget the controversy. All bands today are manufactured pieces of shit.
Of course, those songs were not Fab and Rob. Those were the quote-unquote real Milli Vanilli.
No. Milli Vanilli was a whole thing.
Yeah, I know.
It makes no difference. I don't care.
I know.
They obviously care. I don't care.
I know. For me, those songs will always be Milli Vanilli for me.
And it's them.
Yes.
And they were all part of it. And have you listened to Fab? Because he re-released his own version of Girl, You Know It's True.
Yeah.
And then redid Girl, You Know It's True.
Yeah.
His version is like a reggaeton version. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Summery.
Nice. Very nice.
You can have a Pina Vanillada. I don't know. I should have spent more time thinking what you'd call a Milli Vanilli drink. Although maybe they wouldn't appreciate having a drink named after them. Anyway, so that is Milli Vanilli getting back in the charts. I love it when this happens because you see it happen so often that a TV show or series or something, and suddenly you just look at the streaming charts and there's a couple of 80 songs. And you're going, what just happened?
And I mean, all the younger generation who may not have heard of Milli Vanilli, I mean, it's crazy to think, but there probably were a bunch of people who'd never heard of Milli Vanilli, and now,
exposed,
thanks to the Menendez brothers show, they've been introduced.
Do you think the Menendez brothers, because now this is a whole thing, it's about redemption, right? People are forgiving Milli Vanilli for their past indiscretions, not their own fault, but people are going, I'm learning to love you.
Yeah.
Are we ready to release Menendez brothers?
So here's the thing about this story. I remember watching there was originally I think a made-for-TV movie made about it in the 90s.
Yes.
Starring Edward James Olmos as the dad. He of Miami Vice fame, of course. And I remember really being intrigued by the story. I do not remember the abuse angle at all. So I don't know if that was downplayed in that original movie because from what I understand, like I said, I'm only halfway through, but from what I understand, it's a big deal now. And they're saying, this was overlooked because in the end, it didn't help them. They are in jail.
It's a framing thing, right? Because I suppose your understanding and your acceptance or non-acceptance of certain things changes over time. Like, I think if they have been proven... If it can be proved that they have been reformed and that they are not a danger to society, it was a family squabble that got
I mean,
got out of hand.
They're not psychopathic killers. Are they going to go out and just kill people randomly?
Yeah.
There was a very specific reason for what they did.
Yeah. And
whether it was because of the abuse or money or whatever it was. And I mean, they have been in jail a long time now.
I mean, if it can be proven that they are not a harm to society, just let them out. Let them go. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine, though, how hard that would be for them to come out? First of all, they went in when they were very young. I mean, the entire world knows their story. Although I can see Lyle coming out and becoming a motivational speaker. Hey,
They're definitely going to do it, like Jordan Belfort.
Yeah,
Definitely going to do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And walking out to Goal, too, like just incorporate Milli Vanilli in all of his keynotes. Like, that's what I'm here for. But those are the Menendez brothers. Dory, I want to talk to you about two other brothers, Bub and Bob, the brothers from Bubble Bobble. You remember that game? Bubble Bobble?
No.
Dory, I'm going to show you a screen grab. So many people are going, Bubble Bobble, how do you not remember Bubble Bobble? One of the original Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or Golden Dragon, or Golden China.
In the same kind of universe as Donkey Kong.
Very much so. So, of course, when we talk video games in the 80s, we're talking all about the Super Mario Brothers, but these are the Bubble Bobble brothers, Bub and Bob. And if you remember Bubble Bobble, 100 levels in that game.
Okay.
100 levels. And the whole purpose of it was that each time Bub and Bob would come in the level, I don't know the name Bub and Bob until this week.
Okay.
And I just like saying it. It makes sense. Bubble, Bobble, Bub and Bob. And they had to save their girlfriends. Now, I haven't been able to find the girlfriends' names, but I would love it if it was Bob and... Who else? Babs.
Which is
Bob
the same name.
as Bob, yeah. What else? Bob and... think about it. Sleep on it.
Right.
So why I came across this is because they're going, this is a game. We actually don't realize how important it was for money generation and a revenue spinner, that's the word I'm looking for, in arcades in the 80s and into the 90s. Arcades died. Pity.
So sad.
Well, you weren't an arcade kid.
I told you, at Pan Burgers, when I was waiting for my Pan Burger, I'd play Pac-Man.
But that
was it. Yeah, I didn't go to
cafes.
arcades.
Yeah,
I didn't go to arcades.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously any kind of store would have games. You make money out of games, right?
But after Stranger Things, did arcades not make a comeback? Because, there was such a thing.
In a novelty way, but even if you go to arcades now, they don't have arcade games. They've got other things like skill games, basketball games, you can win tickets, but not actual games because you've got consoles now.
Yeah.
You got better graphics on your phone than you have than most of those games could push out in the 80s, but we loved them. Oh my God, I used to spend so much money at the arcades. I remember
playing pinball.
Okay. That's fine. You can.
At a live music venue I used to go to in the 90s.
All right. But that's a live music venue with a pinball machine.
Is that not the same?
No, arcades were it just rows and rows and different.
No, I understand. I've been
Street
to
Fighter,
it.
Ninja Turtles, Double Dragon, Contra, Bubble Bobble.
I think it would be
Donkey
very
Kong.
overstimulating, that environment.
It is very overstimulating. Listen, it is made for Neon, an 8-year-old boy in Island Style t-shirts. See, Island Style's back? Mm-hmm. I remember Island Style's back. And I would just go with my pocket money in my little wrist wallet.
Your Velcro?
I had a neon orange wrist wallet, and I'd keep my pocket money in there and then go exchange it for coins. And then we'd just play all the games. Bubble Bobble was one of the games. It had 100 levels. And the way the game was designed allegedly was to be easy enough to go far, but just hard enough for you to not finish it. So in one life, so what you had to do is you drop into a level. There's all these little ghouls who are trying to get your bints, right? So they're trying to get Bob and Bint. Okay,
there we go.
That's the name. They're trying to get your bints. And you got to blow bubbles at them. And then when they're in a bubble, you can pop them and kill them.
Okay.
And then you kill all the villains. And then as you're about to get your Bint and Bob, boom, you move they go to the next level, and you got to go to the next level to go get them. And you could quite easily on one life get to level 40. Okay?
Right.
And then you go, shit, I'm on level 40.
Yeah.
And then you die because I can't stop now. I'm on level 50. But you just would never get close enough. And it was,
so hang on, when you died, did you have to restart from the beginning?
Yeah, there was no save.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Only when you got it at the home console.
Yeah.
Listen, if you were lucky, you had a Nintendo. Mm-hmm. But South Africa, we all had our little golden chinas. We all had those. And we'd go play golden china with our chinas. Right? And you'd die. And you couldn't save games. It's like now when you play games, you just save. You just pick up from the last checkpoint. I was like, okay, cool. I get it because games are more intricate now. But that was... Yeah.
I think that was an important life lesson for kids, though. That's now lost.
It's now lost. It's like, no, if you die, you can't just carry on. You're now dead. Mm-hmm. You had a time span to put coins in.
Okay.
So if you ran out of coins, you just had enough time to run, sprint, and give me fucking 20 cents. Get back. So you'd pick up, and it was just a way to make money in arcades. So what they did is they then tried to port it to home consoles. One of the games that they didn't change at all for home console ended up being a terrible experience for people. But still to this day is one of the most favorite games ever released in arcades, along with Mrs. Pac-Man.
Huh.
That's a fun fact.
Is someone making money off it still?
Yeah, they are, because so Nintendo own it, and on Nintendo Switch you get what they call, like, you can play all the old Nintendo console games.
Okay.
Like online.
Like a retro type experience.
And you got to pay like extra, but all those old games are on there. So like I got to a point where I could finish the original Super Mario Brother on one life.
Wow.
Right? And I still try to do that now to this day. Because actually, if you know where all the like portals and warp zones are, you're pretty much only doing 10 levels. You just got to know where to go.
Right.
You know, and it's so weird how you remember all those things. I promise you. Like, I played so much Super Mario Brother in primary school, the original one. I played it so much that when I picked it up, like years later as an adult, we're going like 30 years easily. And I picked it up again. More. I remembered where everything was. It's
Not what you learnt in school, but the important stuff like that.
No, school, I remember porn. The kids bought the porno mags, and Super Mario where warp the warp zone to level 8 is, you know. And I'm telling you right now, there are people listening to this that are going, yeah, you just go right to the end of the level, jump right at the top over the pipe, run to the end of the screen, and then the screen would extend, and then you drop down. They know this is a generation of people. There's something.
These are your people.
There's a psyche of things going on here. So we got a good friend, Noel Opperman of the Pretoria Retro Fair.
Yes.
He said he's doing another one in November.
I know. For my birthday.
I hope planning's going very well. You and him were having an exchange the other day about watching Seinfeld.
Yes.
Right. Where do you sit on the Seinfeld Friends divide? Where are you?
What do you mean the Seinfeld Friends divide?
So some people, there's a thing that you can't like both.
Why not?
Exactly. Right. Some people like, no, if I like Friends, I can't like Seinfeld, and vice versa.
I mean, they're quite different.
But they're also similar enough.
Yeah, I mean, in concept, but wow. I like both. I mean, I kind of appreciate Seinfeld more because it's more my kind of humor.
Yeah.
But Friends was great.
Exactly.
Who didn't like Friends?
So
we've had this discussion. Who didn't like Friends?
We've had this conversation.
I know that your cousin Louis loves Friends.
He loves Friends to the point that he won't watch Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to talk to him.
No, you can't. You can't change that. It's already.
It's like getting you to watch The Princess Bride. Can't happen.
No. It's already happened. So okay, so you're like me. We appreciate both.
Absolutely.
Like why would you argue this, right? So when I saw you guys having this conversation, I was like, okay, of course now we know all the Seinfeld actors and what they're up to now. Jerry Seinfeld has just made a career out of being Jerry Seinfeld. He's never been anything other than Jerry Seinfeld.
I think he invested his money well.
You think so? He's a billionaire?
Yeah.
Billionaire.
You know what I mean? Because
and he just gets to do what he wants now.
Yeah.
You know?
He was clever.
He did the Bee movie. Did you watch that piece of shit?
Oh my God.
Did you watch Frosted?
No.
Oh. It has moments with Hugh Grant playing Tony the Tiger. That's hilarious. But he's Jerry Seinfeld. Like, his name on something means he's going to get a greenlit. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's obviously generational. What, the Short Adventures of Christine, the Mrs. Christine, remember she did
something
that?
like that, which I haven't watched.
And
And also Veep, which I also haven't watched.
And then she's like, oh my God, I saw a trailer. She's in this most melodramatic looking movie, but probably going to win all the awards, of a mother who's had a terminally ill child. And now the child's kind of been given a date now when, like, you know, you're in the last days, and now it's this whole journey of the mother going, I've only ever existed as looking after you, and without you, how do you...
Sounds familiar. I think
it's a new one. Yes, so that's coming out.
Okay.
Tear Jerker, Snot and Trana.
Yeah.
There's a beach. They're on the beach at some point where you know. So she's a phenomenal actress.
Yes.
Jason Alexander, never done huge mainstream stuff, but he's Broadway. Always been very Broadway thespian. Michael Richards, let's not talk about the thing with Michael Richards.
Let's not.
But he's also like not, I think that could have derailed him. But anyway, he's Kramer. So he did it.
Kramer's still hilarious.
So
My kid's watching Seinfeld with me. Finds Kramer Hilarious.
No, Kramer.
I have not told them about
Yeah, that thing.
Michael Richards.
Yeah. But, he spoke about it. He spoke about it in, he's addressed it. And, these things happen.
Yep.
But what I want to do is I want to go back and so Seinfeld started in 1989. It is a 90s thing. Do you notice how many kids, it's kind of changing a little bit, but for a long time, how many kids were dressed like Seinfeld characters? Nerdcore came in.
Okay.
Yeah, suddenly kids
think about it.
Yeah. There was a stage where kids would dress, like Jerry had those terribly like viscose shirts. I don't know what you call that material.
Yeah.
No one was wearing a puffy pirate shirt.
Yeah.
But like kind of pleated, like no shape jeans, big white sneakers. Girls. There was a stage
Elaine had serious style. Like she had a
she's
specific
a style icon, right?
Yeah.
I go to
Very
a lot
specific.
of creative spaces, and I'm going. A lot of people here are dressed like Elaine Bennis. Mm-hmm. Just as many are dancing like her, but a lot of people. Kramer had a completely iconic style. Like Kramer, is style.
He could have existed in the 1940s, 50s.
Today, Dory, take a look at the sneakers I'm wearing today.
Cool.
Okay, those are Nike, officially called Nike Cortez.
Okay.
I call them Nike George Costanzas.
Okay.
Because this is what George Costanza wore. That's why I bought them. Originally, when I bought them in the 90s.
Yeah.
So these are reissues. The ones I bought in the 90s, I call them my Costanzas. I still call them Costanzas. Okay, so icons. We don't know they're being style icons. Everyone talks about the Rachel. No one talks about the Costanzas. But let's go back. Just before they got famous. Of course, we saw the reunion in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David is so key to actually all of them.
Yeah.
Right? So before they were famous, we're going to do a two-part. We're going to start off with Jerry Seinfeld. Now, Jerry Seinfeld at this time was already identified as he's going to be a star. He was on the Johnny Carson show. He was on the Tonight Show. He was kind of doing that. When you're booked to do those shows regularly, you're one way up.
Yeah.
And of course,
But it was a very new kind of humor.
Yeah.
Like
Different.
He kind of really created a new kind of comedy.
If you think about comedians at that time, the really big ones, Andrew Dice Clay, Eddie Murphy, crude, crass, rude. He was just like, he doesn't swear.
He was like a nerdy, normal guy
Yeah.
who would just talk about
dumb stuff.
everyday things that everybody related to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was already on a trajectory. And of course, they go, well, let's put him in a sitcom. Do you know what's the first sitcom he was in?
No.
Benson.
Ah.
Yeah. Benson.
Was he acting as himself?
So Benson, obviously the sitcom mainly based around Butler.
Yes.
Do you know Benson was
Benson was a spin-off of Soap.
Hey,
Yes.
amazing. That's
I read that the other day.
What a factoid.
Yeah, I read that the other day.
What a factoid that
I
was.
loved Soap. Soap was really good.
Soap scared the shit out of me. The alien one. When the aliens
So
abducted the baby.
I know.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Jesus. Go do yourself a Google. Soap, alien, baby abduction. They showed that shit at like 5:30, Dory.
I know, and we were young.
No.
We were, I mean, you were younger than me, but we were still young when
I
that
wasn't
show
ready
was
for
on.
that. Soap was like a parody on soap operas, and they're the most ridiculous plots that I think a lot of soap operas started copying.
Absolutely. I mean, Days of Our Lives.
Everyone
definitely.
remembers Marlena's Possession.
Everyone.
And that comes straight out of soap. Okay, so Benson.
Speaking of, rest in peace, John from Days of Our Lives. Yeah.
You got a photo?
Drake.
Drake. Was it Drake?
Drake Hochstein.
It wasn't Drake Ramore, no, but
No,
yeah.
not Drake Ramore.
Okay, so Jerry was on Benson.
Yeah.
In only 3 episodes, he played a mail delivery guy.
Okay.
But an aspiring comedian. Because Jerry Seinfeld can't act.
Right.
He can only be Jerry Seinfeld.
No, exactly.
Right?
He's always doing a bit.
And this was his character in Benson. He was in 3 episodes. He'd bring the mail to the mansion and he would do little stand-up skits. That was his whole character.
I'm guessing these clips are on YouTube.
They are on YouTube, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Unceremoniously, they just canned Jerry. They just said, no, you don't work. And he was, many years, he was angry about it and actually fueled him to prove them wrong when he did Seinfeld. He said, they didn't bother to tell me. I was angry. And he says, it doesn't happen in stand-up. When you build up to a certain level, you stay at that level. Suddenly I'm on TV and they just after 3 episodes say, no, you're out. Your character's gone. And he's like, oh my God, okay, this is terrible. But it freed him up to then, he got offered Seinfeld.
Blessing in disguise.
He was like a nobody. Then he gets offered his own sitcom straight out of that.
Yeah.
Right? And who's a billionaire now?
Not Benson.
Not the producers of Benson. So he's never looked back from that. of course, Larry David, his big friend. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. What was she doing in the 80s?
Did she star in stuff when she was younger, like as a teenager?
So, doesn't really go back into her teenage years. Her father's a billionaire.
No.
Her father's was valued at 3.4 billion. Okay. Her uncle, I know the uncle because of football, her uncle owns or used to own Adidas. And then they own football clubs in France. She's big, serious money.
Okay.
She's serious money, right? So it doesn't really talk about her as a child actor. She was in theatre companies, very prestigious theatre companies. She's a great actress, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But having a billionaire father is not going to hurt.
No, I'm sure it didn't hurt.
So I did not realize that she was actually on Saturday Night Live, first off.
Wow, that must have been long ago.
So she was in Saturday Night Live from 1982. Yeah, here's her young life. Her father was Gerard Louis Dreyfus, a French billionaire who owned the Dreyfus Company, obviously Dreyfus Group of companies. And then, uncle and cousins, etc., etc. It was a second cousin owned Adidas. So didn't really show that she appeared in anything young. She was, or in her youth days, I mean, she was like on that stellar cast of Saturday Night Live with Billy Crystal, Chevy Chase, like serious hitters.
Yeah.
So she was on that, had a lot of recurring characters. And then she started appearing in films, one called Hannah and Her Sisters.
Oh, I remember that.
What was that about? That
was Woody Allen.
It does? It is Woody Allen, you're right. Yeah. She's not credited as the main actress.
No, she wasn't one of the main ones.
I mean, at that age, she's so young, she wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
She was in Soul Man. Again.
I don't remember.
Neither do I. It doesn't. The sooner we forget Soul Man.
Let's just move on.
The better.
Let's just move on.
She was also in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Huh.
Okay. Another cancelable person. Now, listen, we're going to move on to Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She was also in Trolls, remember? That movie Trolls I reviewed where this mythical creature, the portal back to his universe is in an apartment building.
Yeah.
So he takes over the apartment building and everyone starts going loopy. And she plays the character, she's a nymph. And then there's one scene where she's in this like apartment and it's all overgrown and luscious and she's nude.
Huh?
Now you see side boob.
Side boob.
Side boob, Julia Louis-Dreyfus side boob. You know, here's the thing, right? Because Elaine is kind of like not played as a sex symbol.
No.
She's like kind of like that's not her thing. Although some of the funniest Seinfeld story arcs are where she is a sex symbol. So I was watching the other day the one where she leaves a voice message, a sexy voice message, and none of them know who it is.
Oh, I haven't got to that episode
till the
yet.
end they realize that her.
Still working my way through.
There's the other one where her nipples exposed on the Christmas card.
I vaguely remember that.
There's that one, and then there's the other one where she exposes her cleavage to trap the guy in the restaurant.
Yes.
So she's never played, but they play her as like being. She's a sneaky hot.
Yeah.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
She's a sneaky hot. Listen, you had your pinups. You had Jennifer Aniston. You had Courtney Cox. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hey, if you like the sneaky hot, nerdy. If you're more, what's it, the Jinkies chick from Scooby-Doo?
Okay.
Yeah, if you're into that chick, hey, there's a nerdy thing going on.
But it's quite interesting what you've just said about, because Seinfeld was always kind of not family entertainment, more grown up, but like wholesome generally. But I remember one of my favorite episodes, which I'm still coming to, is that one where they all have to like not masturbate for as long as possible.
The contest.
Is that what it's called? And it's like, are you still master of your domain?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Seinfeld was sneaky, freaky.
Hey, it happened all the time. I mean, Jerry also, had a new girlfriend every episode.
That is true. But you never like saw them,
No, never. So that is Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Jerry Seinfeld. Before Seinfeld. And kind of like, she wasn't in the pilot episode. So if you go back and watch the first episode of Seinfeld, she's not in.
I did watch the first episode of Seinfeld.
She's not in.
But I can't remember.
You actually don't notice it until somebody points it out. Huh. There was no character, Elaine. There wasn't a character.
Okay.
And then, so obviously you do the pilot.
And then when she pitches up, like
she's just kind of there.
She's just Jerry's ex, who's now they're now friends.
Yeah.
But they dated, but now they're friends. And that's like made very clear from the start.
Yeah.
She's just there.
She's just there.
Yeah.
And it was actually Larry David because the network came and said, listen, this is two guys. This is two blokes.
Too much testosterone.
Yeah. We need a female character. And they were like, well, if we're going to have a female character, she's going to be a guy as well.
Okay? Yeah, absolutely. One of the guys.
She's not the voice of reason here. She's like going to cause just as much shit. And then he worked with her on Saturday Night Live. He was one of the writers when she was on SNL.
Right.
And he was like audition, and he saw, he's like, okay, no, you're in.
Wow, what a life-changing event.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
The rest is history. So let's take a jump out of that. We'll come to Jason Alexander and Michael Richards after our movie recommendations. I do have a treat for you.
Yay.
But let's hear what you have lined up this week.
I don't have anything that exciting. I'll be honest with you. I was looking for something because we've done the big ones, the things that everyone knows and remembers. So I thought there must be some sort of obscure show that either we never ever even saw here in South Africa, or I totally forgot. I'm not entirely sure where this show fits because it may have shown here, but I don't know. I went down this rabbit hole and I found, and I don't know if you remember it, there was a sitcom which aired from April 1984 to March 1985, 2 seasons, called Double Trouble. I don't know if you ever remember this show.
No, I know, Dory, I know the show.
You know this show?
I'm going to
I'll tell you why you would know this
Google
show.
here.
Is because it stars identical twins who are played by Gene and Liz Segal as in Katie Segal's siblings in real life. Katie Segal looked married with children.
And they actually look exactly like her. What the hell?
Well, if you look, that whole there's a whole family. There's a bunch of them.
Well, most people in families, there's a bunch of people in families.
No, there's a bunch of them who acted. But yeah, there's a fair amount of siblings.
So no. This can't be right, because when I Google it, and obviously you Google sitcom Double Trouble, it shows images of the two of them, but then it also shows, like, you know, when they show the cast and pictures, and both of them look exactly like Katie Segal, to the point that they must have been dressed up like her, because in the sitcom they don't look like her.
In the sitcom they don't look like her. They're quite young.
Yeah.
But when they show pictures of them older, they look like her. So either they just grew into these people that looked like her,
or they just being mistaken for her.
Maybe. Anyway, I found an episode on YouTube put on from very dodgy VHS with the weird.
The only way. That's the only way.
Could not get through it. Maybe managed 10 minutes. Could not get through it. So terrible.
It looks it looks very 1950s, this sitcom. Is it set in the 50s?
No, it's 80s. Set in when it's set. Oh. It is completely set. So let me read you what the Wikipedia page says. There's not a lot about it, but it says the series stars identical twins, Gene and Liz Segal as Kate and Alison Foster, 2 teenagers living under the watchful eye of their widowed father. The show is considered an updating of the twins in mischief concept seen in films like The Parent Trap. The Segal sisters acknowledge that Norman Lear, the Segal family's godfather, was the one who held influence over the show's concept, whatever the hell that means. But the point is, I can tell you from the 10 minutes that I watched, the concept is not original. Twins, identical, but very different personalities. One's very conservative and organized, and the other one's just a bit kooky and disorganized. There's also these 2 blonde guys who are in the show. They're not twins, but they look like they could be brothers. They're also there. Couldn't figure out their role. It was, when you just say, bad sitcoms. Bad sitcom.
There were a lot. There are still a lot of them.
Yes, a lot.
There are still a lot of them.
So this was one of them, but I don't remember if it ever showed here. When I see these 2 girls, they are very familiar to me.
Okay. Maybe because they look exactly like Katie Segal.
No, but they don't when they're young. And they were quite young in the show.
So it went for 2 seasons, 20 episodes, 23
I don't know
episodes.
how. Couldn't get through one. But anyway, yeah.
I wanted to see how many of them the plot involved mistaken identity of twins filling in.
Of course.
One drives, the other doesn't. That's the title of the first episode. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we obviously know what happens there. There's one called Lust.
Ooh.
We obviously know what happens there. First day, one enjoys school, the other one doesn't. We know what happens there. So I'm willing to bet at least a third of the episodes are about them filling in for each other.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to read Sweet Valley High, which that was the thing.
That was
I used to do that.
Yeah. I never read Sweet Valley High. I watched the TV series that was played, also those two twins. They were quite pleasant on the eye for a teenage boy to look at.
I'm sure.
Man for Margot, The Boy Next Door, another episode title. We know what happened there. So, 2 girls for every boy.
Huh.
We know what happened there.
I think that you're thinking of other types of shows.
Don't.
Possibly.
Don't.
Just possibly.
We live in
anyway,
this,
so yeah,
we live in
I
this
don't know.
Harvey Weinstein world. We know what is happening.
I don't know if this show ever showed you. I just didn't know it existed until
I think it
found
is fascinating how they both look exactly like Katie Sagal.
And that was exactly why I wanted to bring it up, just because of the Katie Sagal reference. Otherwise, there was no point in talking about it.
How disappointing for them that they had a sitcom before their sister, I'd assume.
And nobody knows who they are.
And now people go, oh, you guys
cares.
are Katie Sagal's sister. That must suck.
Actually, this show probably just shows exactly how great Married with Children actually was. Actually.
I've got a fun fact about Married with Children a little bit later. But let me get into my movie.
Yes.
So this movie falls so nicely into the Paulo's kind of weird shit, but really good, interesting, ahead of its time shit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's actually not shit. It's actually really good.
Oh.
So nowadays there's animation for adults.
Yes.
Right. BoJack Horseman.
Yes.
Family Guy. Right. Definitely animation for adults. In the 80s, this thing just didn't exist. Animation was for children.
Yeah.
Especially right in the 80s. I mean, we're talking...
With a couple of exceptions, but yes.
Oh, what's your exception?
Oh, no, we'll get into that another time. Maybe I'll discuss it at a later date.
Fritz the Cat.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Okay, maybe my movie is just... Maybe my movie's there. So this movie is such an interesting concept. Really interesting that they got it made. A clever story, but badly put together. Really interesting voice actors. You know, because nowadays when you do an animated movie, what is kind of the first animated movie? What would be the really big one? Lion King.
Yeah.
That kind of brought animation back.
Maybe,
you know?
yeah.
And then you had like big name actors doing voices or whatever. And songs more than that. You know, they all had a big song. And this movie kind of did all of that, but not very unintentionally. Also, what a lot of this movie, and another one I'm going to mention because they're very similar, was very much aimed at kind of the rock and roll audience.
Okay.
Heavy metal, rock audience. Okay.
Okay.
We are in a post-apocalyptic one word I can never say.
Post-apocalyptic.
That and thank you. Post-apocalyptic, and I'm sorry. A post-apocalyptic was... A professional podcast would edit that out.
Yeah, but...
Post-apocalyptic. And the only things that survived, there was nuclear something, were cats, dogs, and rats for some reason. And over time, they've evolved into humanoid type things.
Okay.
So human cats and human dogs and human rats.
Interesting that the rats didn't get eaten by the cats.
They must have, but they all evolved, right? Okay. Now, this is it's such an interesting story. The main villain is a guy called Mark Swagger. Okay?
Okay.
Very intentionally to sound like Mick Jagger.
Right.
He's the main villain, and he's kind of this aging rock star. And he's no longer relevant, and he just can't, resonate.
What year was this?
The year was 1983.
Okay.
Must I tell you the name of the movie?
Yes, because I have no idea what it is.
Okay, it's called Rock and Rule.
Never heard of it.
Rock and Rule, also called Ring of Power. So Rock and Rule was a Canadian name. Ring of Power was outside of North America. So for us, we might have known it as that. And I did watch this movie because this is exactly the movie that you went to go, oh, it's an animation. I'm taking it. And you go, shit, that's not an animation. There are a lot of very complex themes and scary shit I don't understand those, but there's scary shit going on here. Okay. And it's not as scary as the Care Bears movie, where the Care Bears were literally fucking dying. Mm-hmm. They were literally dying. They didn't warn us that shit. And it's not even like Optimus Prime when Optimus Prime died in the Transformers movie, because he died like right in the beginning. So we had a lot of time to process. And then like a month later, the new like Transformers series comes out and there's Optimus Prime alive. But now he's looks different. So now I've got to get new t-shirts and underpants and toys, right? With the new Optimus Prime. Can't be fucking going around with old Optimus Prime. So it wasn't even as traumatic as that. The Care Bears movie, they had their glow taken out. Remember when they started losing their color? Do you remember that?
Just traumatic childhood memories.
Hey?
Just trauma.
They showed that shit at Christmas.
They traumatized us our whole 80s childhood.
Fuck, that was horrible.
We know this.
Jeez. Anyway, this. So I watched this. I know I watched this.
Yeah. Was it at the video shop?
Of course it was the video shop, straight to video. So Mock Swagger, he goes, I got to get relevance. And he knows about this demon that he can unlock. And when he unlocks this demon, it will give him omnipotence and no one can ever stake his claim, and he'll be the most popular and powerful being in the world. But to get this demon, he needs a certain voice sung at a certain frequency to sing to the demon and bring it to this world, right?
Okay.
So he's on a mission. Now, Mock Swagger is kind of like, they based him on the guys they wanted to voice him. So Iggy Pop, Mick Jagger, Tim Curry, and David Bowie.
Oh my God.
Imagine all of those, because they went, right, we want one of those guys to voice him. Of course, they couldn't afford any of them, but they said, well, not quite. I'll get to that. But then they said, let's just make him look good.
Essence.
Yeah. I'll post up an image of all these pictures of all these guys, that 80 Show SA Facebook, first mention of that 80 Show SA Facebook for today. And you'll see just this, he is all of those.
He embodies them.
I would love Tim Curry to have done the voice. But so that's Mock Swagger.
Okay.
And he goes around, he's just like mysterious, like presence, and he goes to different nightclubs and whatever. And he comes across this band. And in this band, there's a female singer called Angel, and she sings. And he's got, Mock Swagger's got this ring that will detect the voice.
Okay.
And it's her voice.
Right.
So he goes, okay, I've got to get her to my lair. Whew, we're having P. Diddy vibes here. He's like, okay, he gets the band to the lair, gets rid of all her chums in the band. So she sings in a band with her boyfriend. They got two friends. He gets rid of them. He got his assistants. I think they drug them and then dump them in the woods. And then now he's now going to get her to sing so they can get the demon. Okay.
Right.
Well, this is where things
Is she voiced by someone famous?
Okay. So there was somebody doing her speaking voice. Debbie Harry was her singing voice.
Ah.
Hey, that's an interesting factoid.
That's cool.
So I'm going to show you Angel. Now, this is where, again, that 80 Show SA Facebook, if you want to check this out, or just search Angel Rock and Roll. So, of course, when he gets her, he's got to tie her up and put her in skimpy clothing.
Of course.
That's what they did. And she writhes a lot. Okay? So this is where things start getting very complicated for a young boy seeing such things.
Yo.
Dory, would you describe that as not sexual?
I would not describe it as not sexual.
No. Yes. I mean, in the realms of scantily-clad Catwoman,
Yo.
I always thought I was a Cheetara guy.
But now.
There's competition.
Was there like an age restriction on this movie?
Yeah, probably was, Dory.
Yeah, just checking.
It probably was. It doesn't say anywhere, but yeah, definitely was an age restriction.
Definitely having some sort of fetish outlet there when they drew that character.
Because she, now she's tied. I mean, she's tied up, very bondage style.
Yeah. And
she's writhing. And although you never expose anything, it's just one little swap of a pencil. Until we see some...
There's probably a version of a drawing somewhere.
Oh, there is fan art. You don't even want to go down there.
I don't.
Like use of the internet. I don't want it taken away from me, so I won't even look at it. So anyway, they do get her to sing. She sings, demon comes out.
Right.
Okay. But now the whole time her boyfriend's trying to get back in to rescue her. Turns out her boyfriend, Mock Swagger, misunderstood the prophecy, and that... Again, this is stupid plot hole stuff. The only way they could control the demon is her and her boyfriend singing together. And then when they did that, the demon listened to them, and then they sent the demon back away. Mock Swagger dies.
Okay.
and Everyone Lives Happily Ever After. And she now becomes this major star after, or the band now becomes this major successful band after this.
What did the demon like unleash something on the world? Like, how long was the demon around before they managed to banish it?
Well, there was a battle with the demon, like a crazy battle.
Okay.
The animation in the battle is like actually so fantastic.
Okay.
Like really, really good stuff. And when I read you the production company and what they did, it was definitely all the shit that they wanted to do in the other kids' shows, and they couldn't. They were like, let's throw it at this. We got not heaps of budget, but more budget than we have for the TV shows.
Cool.
So it looks fantastic. 1980s animation, fantastic. It looks fantastic. But something of the demon, that's what I say, the story's all over the place. Something of the demon now gives him power, and for returning him and freeing him, because I think when they sing, they free him.
Okay.
And for freeing him, he now goes, you have been kind to me, you didn't want to use me, and whatever. So that Everyone Lives Happily Ever After. We didn't see a naked Catwoman. Some interesting stuff about this is that it features music by Cheap Trick.
Cool.
And Earth, Wind and Fire. Cheap Trick and Earth, Wind and Fire really couldn't be further apart. And as much as Debbie Harry's Angel's singing voice, Lou Reed and Iggy Pop, between the two of them are Mark Swagger's singing voice.
Mark Swagger sings?
Yeah, Mark Swagger. Yeah.
Okay.
He sings two songs.
Okay.
Iggy Pop sings the one and the Lou Reed sings the other one.
And then who does the boyfriend's voice? Or does that not matter?
No, it does matter. And I've gone blank. He was also in Blondie.
Okay.
He was also in Blondie. He's the boyfriend singing voice. So really interesting. The soundtrack is so interesting. Really, really good soundtrack.
I'm very keen to hear the sound.
Yeah. Go check out the soundtrack. I mean, you won't know any of the songs. I mean, there's not all the songs are made for this.
Yeah.
But it's, Angel's Song by Debbie Harry, Send Love Through by Debbie Harry, Send Love Through Finale by Debbie Harry, Pain and Suffering by Iggy Pop, My Name is Mark, Triumph, both by Lou Reed, Born to Raise Hell, I'm the Man, Home Sweet Home, all by Cheap Trick, Dance, 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 Earth, Wind and Fire, and Hot Dogs and Sushi by Melanie Brown.
Hot Dogs and Sushi. Okay.
Okay, so that is the movie Rock and Rule. Now, it was done by Nelvana Studios, right?
Okay.
Now, Nelvana did a lot of animation. Canadian company did a lot of animation. They did Care Bears. They did Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
They did the Ewoks, when there's the Ewoks animated series. They did a whole bunch of Strawberry Shortcake animated series. Mad Balls, My Pet Monster. Like, they were doing the stuff.
Yeah.
They even there was an animated sequence in The Three Amigos. You know that sequence when they're all eating beans?
It's vaguely familiar.
Okay.
I need to rewatch
and
that
the horses
movie.
start singing. They did the animation for the horses. The
Cool.
horses singing. So So when you see Nelvana, all kids stuff, and they were like, okay, cool, we'll do this, and that's why that final animation scene. One of the really interesting things is that Marvel released a comic of the story, but they took the stills or the cells from the movie and just made that the comic book with speech bubbles. So the comic book looks fantastic. Yeah, it's not. This happened a lot in the 80s.
Yeah.
And do you know I read James Bond before I watched James Bond?
I didn't know there was a James Bond comic.
Yes. So every James Bond movie came with a comic, especially in the 80s. I know.
Okay.
So I had all the 80s James Bond comics. It's not sex stuff. And not James Bond in the 80s wasn't really violent.
No.
It was just like cartoony and comical. It was all the James Bond movies, but in a comic book. Right? And
I mean, you've already got the drawings. It's actually so clever. Like, why not?
I mean, it was just anime. And when you watch, you go, oh, that just drew that scene and drew that scene. Of course, they want the whole movie. But yeah, so I read James Bond. I knew all the stories before I watched it. Right? And so that happened often. They'd release, Marvel, listen, they're a behemoth now, but they were like really trying everything to stay afloat.
But now that's like, I don't know if that would work now. Are comics still a thing for the young kids of today?
Oh, yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. And listen, comics are massive business now. Like huge, huge business. So this Rock and Rule, there was another animated same kind of genre, same wheelhouse that I want to talk about, but it wasn't as interesting. And I'm glad I found Rock and Rule, because the other one I wanted to talk about was called Heavy Metal.
Heard of that one.
So it was actually based or done by the magazine Heavy Metal.
Okay.
Right? And it was this whole, heavy metal was like steampunk, erotica, people who didn't understand called Satanism. It was like kind of evil. People found it very evil.
Satanic.
Yep. And anyway, they made heavy metal inspired, because remember heavy metal had all those crazy drawings and so the movie looks very much like that. These stories kind of nowhere, but the soundtrack includes songs by Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, Sammy Hagar, Stevie Nicks, Don Felder, Grand Funk Railroad, Cheap Trick, Devo, Journey, and Nazareth. So you definitely know what you're dealing with there, right? It looks.
I have a feeling this movie definitely showed at the Mini Cine in Hillbrow.
It would have, yeah.
Absolutely.
What, heavy metal?
Yes.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
It looks like, band guys who are still wearing band T-shirts.
Yep.
It looks like one of their T-shirts was made into a movie.
Okay.
That's literally what it's like.
Yeah.
Like a Black Sabbath
So is this
T-shirt.
just a mention on the side?
That's just a mention on the side. Same genre. Not enough in heavy metal's not really a story. It's just like kind of all over the place. But it's kind of the same genre. If you're going to do animated, rock-inspired, adult animations from the early 80s done by Canadian production companies who also did the Care Bears.
Weird animal, human, people.
Yeah. And then let me know. I mean, listen, we all had uncomfortable feelings about Jessica Rabbit. It started a lot of people still do. But tell me, go check out a picture of Angel. Are you Cheetara or Angel? If you're that kind of a weirdo to actually have that comparison about 80s animal.
I thought you just said we're not going to judge, and then you just called people weirdos.
Hey, I had the feelings. I'm the weirdo. I am King Weirdo, as we like to do. So
what an interesting movie.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
You'll find
Sounds really interesting.
Find it everywhere. Find it everywhere, especially on YouTube. That's when people don't even give a shit enough to take it down. We're not even, whatever, no takedown orders. Let's go back to what the Seinfeld cast were doing in the 80s. Mm-hmm. We land on Jason Alexander, George Costanza. He's the real thespian of the group, right? Because Julia Louis-Dreyfus was kind of always in comedy. She was SNL and even with Veep and everything. She's a comedic actress. I mean, like everything, but, Jason Alexander, he's a thespian. He was on Broadway. He's still on Broadway. Huh. He's like a serious actor.
Like serious drama stuff.
So I don't know if you remember in Curb Your Enthusiasm when they're doing the reunion show, the kind of reunion arc in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And they play on it and they make jokes about him, about he's always so serious. And the actor within, he writes the book, The Actor Within, and they play on it. But it's not far off. He was quite a serious
I remember
actor.
seeing him in the 90s in a movie in a very serious role, like this drama that showed at Cinema Nouveau.
Oh,
and he was really good.
And, obviously when you are now... I mean, the Seinfeld cast makes so much money from syndication. So much money that they're at a point they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And he's kind of taken in. He says, I will do whatever I want. So he was in quite a few interesting things. One movie called Senior Trip. Which
sounds familiar.
Yeah. So what it is that there is a camp guidance counselor who got disfigured by kids doing a prank, and then he goes back to get his revenge every year on the next group of kids that come to camp.
It sounds like a bad horror movie.
It is a terrible horror movie.
Okay.
So he is in that. He was also, before Seinfeld, he was in a few episodes of ER.
Huh.
Now, of course, he was on Broadway before this.
Yes,
he was a serious stage actor, started doing a bit of TV. He was in 15 episodes of ER.
I really want to rewatch ER, hey?
Really?
For me, that was the greatest medical drama.
I don't like medical and law.
Yeah,
like I say,
law,
but Doogie Howser was my medical drama. After that, I don't care. He was in a television film called Rockabye. He was also in Newhart. Speaking of shitty sitcoms, he was in a sitcom called Everything's Relative, a series centered around the Beebe brothers. Julian, who was his character, divorced, hardworking 33-year-old businessman, and Scott, a single 25-year-old womanizing construction worker who shared a loft in the Soho section of Lower Manhattan. And just the clash of their different styles. Everything's relative. It looks like...
Don't remember that?
No. Looks like a piece of crap. So that was Jason Alexander. And then Michael Richards, we come to him.
Okay.
What was he doing? Wasn't he in Taxi?
Yes.
He was in Taxi in the 70s. So we won't go that far back, but in the 80s, he was with Billy Crystal had a late night TV show called ABC Fridays. And Michael Richards was on it, and so was Larry David.
Huh.
Okay. Now, Larry David also based the character of George Costanza on him. A lot of George Costanza's storylines are things Larry David did.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Larry David is if Jerry and George had a baby.
Yeah.
A really old, annoying
Larry David
baby.
always been old. Always been old.
Tall, old, annoying baby.
Who will not let things go. He was also in a TV miniseries called Fresno, where he was an inept criminal henchman. He auditioned for the role of Al Bundy in Married with Children.
Wow.
Hey?
That would have been
How wild.
so weird.
Think about that sliding doors.
Yeah.
Ed O'Neill becomes Kramer, and
No. Just
it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't
No.
work. It just wouldn't work. Kramer's not schlubby, you know. I don't know. Anyway, so he auditioned. He didn't get it.
Yeah.
He was also in UHF with Weird Al Yankovic, and he appeared like so many people in Miami Vice. He was a bookie. He was in Saint Elsewhere, and he was also in Cheers as a character trying to collect a bet, an old bet with Sam Malone.
I can't imagine him being any character other than Kramer.
I know, because even after that, he was actually in line to be Monk. Remember that TV show Monk?
Yeah.
They wanted him to be Monk, but just stuck it. He turned it down.
Yeah.
And he goes, he can't be anything other than Kramer. He's just Kramer.
He is Kramer, literally.
Even in he was in Problem Child. Remember the movie Problem Child?
No.
In the 90s. He played the bow tie bandit, who the kid. You don't remember the Problem Child movie? With a kid, he's like a real shitty little kid, and John Ritter's in it as well.
I vaguely remember it in theory. I don't remember anything about it.
Okay.
I probably watched it.
Yeah, so Problem Child, I fucking love Problem Child and Problem Child 2. So John Ritter's the single dad, and he adopts this kid who's just absolutely the worst little shit in the world, but John Ritter loves him so much. And then he becomes obsessed with this criminal called the Bow Tie Bandit. Okay. And that's Michael Richards is the Bow Tie Bandit. But he's Kramer.
Yeah.
He's just Kramer. And hey, listen, when you such an iconic character, why change? You know?
I hope he put his money away as well.
Oh, no, listen. I don't think they make so much money. They don't even need to put their money away. It just keeps coming in.
Yeah.
I don't think that they can spend their money as quickly as it comes back in. And you're talking there, two billionaires, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Jerry Seinfeld, in one sitcom. What are we talking about here? So, if you ever wondered, what did the Seinfeld cast do in the 80s? I just told you. Right.
Thank you. Thank you for telling us.
So, a couple of things just to wrap up the show. Did you hear that? I think we have heard about this. Celeb Savant told us that Tiffany is re-releasing I Think We're Alone now. She's reimagining her 80s hits for a new era.
I don't remember that. Oh.
Cannot wait to hear that.
I can. No, I'm joking.
Because she's done variations of it, but now she's reimagining it, not just re-releasing. Dory, I did not realize she was 14 when she released that.
Crazy.
That's why she used to perform in malls. She couldn't perform in clubs.
Wasn't Debbie Gibson also
Same
like 14?
Thing, yeah. My daughter's 14.
Imagine if like your kid became famous like Tiffany did.
Like that is shit, yeah.
Was Tiffany did she have a parent who was like, you will be this, or was it all her? Did it come from within, or was it bestowed upon her by a parent with ambition?
I've never kind of come across
we need
that she
the
was
Tiffany true life story.
Troubled child star. I mean, you know, look, Celeb Savant, he is way too polite to actually push.
He would never ask that.
He would never ask that.
He only had 10 minutes with her while she was cooking.
Releasing a cookbook that we retitled I Think We're a Scone Now. She should have called that gold. She should have called it that. So that's her reimagining. We can't wait to listen to that. And Dory, we've spoken about this before, but I feel we're always getting new people on the show and we need to go back to it. Footloose. We've spoken about it before.
We have.
Ridiculous.
In many ways.
Love Footloose. Love it.
And yet,
love fight
why?
dancing.
And yet, why do we love it? Because when you really think about it, it's so stupid.
Okay, it is stupid, but is of the 80s. It's got Kenny Loggins singing the main song.
I mean, Kevin Bacon, you can't hate anything Kevin Bacon does. You just can't.
He fight dances, great soundtrack.
It is the stupidest idea.
Okay, so the story is really stupid.
Yeah.
It's a town that's banned dancing.
Yeah.
We've mentioned this before. You know that's based on a true story.
I think so, yes.
Okay, let me tell you
So
that.
stupid.
Let me tell you that true story. This makes it even more stupid.
Okay.
So we go back to 1860, a town called Elmore City in Oklahoma. Okay, and we know what we've heard about Oklahoma. Founded by a man called James Elmore. So a cult, basically.
Right.
Okay, so basically James Elmore started a cult in 1860.
Right.
700 people, and obviously people were drinking way too much. So he imposed a ban in 1898 that existed till 1980. And residents were allowed to dance up to that point. He said they were not allowed to dance up to that point, nor could they host, obviously, a high school prom. They could have no fun for 100 years in this town. Hey? Just under 100 years. So the true story is that two students, Mary Ann Temple Lee and Leonard Coffey, two students go, we want to have a prom. We want a prom. We want a prom. And they just, they said, not as volatile or as extravagant or anywhere as interesting as the Footloose story. They just, kind of like lobbied to have a prom. And the story caught national attention. And this is where the producer and the writers of Footloose picked up on the story, went to the town to interview people, and got inspired and said, okay, I'm going to make a story about this. Like they say, like there was nowhere near as interesting, as dramatic or anything. Yeah. It was probably a very easy thing of going to the town hall and
it was
changing.
the seed of the concept.
It was a seed, exactly.
I actually kind of appreciate it a bit more now that I know it's actually a thing that happened.
So stupid.
But I kind of appreciate it.
Because in Footloose, it's banned. Dancing is banned because the mayor's kid died
in a car accident or
after
something.
dancing.
Yeah.
More after drinking.
Yeah, it was definitely drinking, not dancing.
I think tackle the drinking, not the dancing. You curb the drinking. People can dance. They can dance if they want to, and they can leave their friends behind. But I will not leave you behind, Dory, nor anybody. Anything you missed on the show today, you can find that Eddie Show essay on Facebook. Milli Vanilli back in the charts. Rock and roll animation that was nowhere near as scary as fucking Dark Heart in Care Bears. Remember Inspector Gadget as well.
It was all scary, all of it. I'm still traumatized from Labyrinth.
It's open Inspector Gadget's scary. Go Gadget.
The Dark Crystal. Damn.
Oh yeah. But
that was puppets.
And they re-released it.
I know.
There was a new version of it. I believe it was very good.
Yeah.
You know what I found hilarious on Inspector Gadget? It was Nelvana were one of the animation companies. There was another one called DIC, Deke. And at the end, they'd go Deke. And then, of course, because I'm a baby, I'd go Gadget Deke. Thanks for joining me, Dory. Goodbye.